Hi, so that last video popped off a little bit. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for subscribing and commenting and that stuff. My general situation after that video is still very much an ongoing one. I'll probably yap about it in a future video or something, I don't know. But my patrons will definitely know what's going on. I am keeping them updated as I know more myself. Anyway, I saw some questions in the comments, so I thought we would take a little bit of time out of my Sunday to answer some of them for you here. Why not? I'll show some of the questions that I've chosen to answer around my face right now. Wow, look at that. Bam, bam. And this one. We'll get to you. We'll get to you. Let's go. Scott Watrous, can I just preemptively apologise for pronouncing all of your names horribly? I don't mean it. I am trying. That's a rather generous price increase for the patrons. I was figuring the comment tier would simply go from 1 to 3.5 to 4 quid, if that's what your average paid counts were anyhows. No idea what you do or anything, YouTube algorithms just sending people your way maybe, but relatable struggles with that website for sure. Thank you. Yeah, so this is one of the solutions that it has been kind of presented to me. But I know for a fact that there are patrons, both long-term and, new ones, who can't support other people if they have to increase their prices too much. So if I were to increase my lowest tier to anything above £2, I am pretty sure I would have people who would really like to support my comic books and get access to them and stuff that they wouldn't be able to afford to anymore, and that sucks. I don't really want to. I don't want to increase the prices. It also, not even just talking about just the money side, it has completely removed any flexibility over on my end, because now it's just instead of me being able to create as much or as little as I can per month, now it's just that's it, that's all you're getting, so doesn't matter how much or how little you work. It removes the whole special appeal that Patreon had, the flexibility that I would be able to create as many or as few comic book pages per month as I could. So it's just at this point, they are literally just like a tip jar with a static monthly sum, which is still good. Don't get me wrong, it's still good to have something. They have completely removed their one thing that made them so good for people in my situation. So at this point, my way going forward is going to be to try to make my own membership studio on my website, which is not going to be complicated. It's basically, for now, just the exact same tiers and everything, and it's just a static monthly thing. I'm just going to have that over on my website instead, or rather as well as, and that's where all of my effort and future work will go into, because Patreon now has no special sheen to it other than the fact that it's easier for people to sign up to a Patreon, because that they basically have a lot of creators on there. So if you just sign up once, then you don't have to think about your payment anymore as someone who supports other people. Whereas if you sign up to individual websites, then that becomes just a tiny little bit more friction. I hope I'm making sense. I'm very tired and very stressed right now. So I am gonna make a proper thought out video where I go through my plan on how I'm gonna fix this. But obviously, because it is still ongoing, yeah, let's move on. And this is by Nick Moore. Never seen you before, but the video popped up on YouTube. Good luck. Thank you. I hope it works well. I hope so too. But I think you should put some of your art in the video, then I would know what you're talking about, lol. Right, okay. That video was filmed quite quickly because the news had come out and it was, all very in the moment. So I didn't really have the time or the awareness at that point to start showing my art in the video. But Here you go. I will edit some art right in front of me right now. I do this. Bam, 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 bam. Wow, look at this. Look at this. This is what I do. Oh, I do this and this and this. All of this I do. By the way, currently doing this. You can't really see it because it's in progress, but this is the next page for my ongoing fantasy comic called Skull that you can read for free on my website. Look, I'm making it right now. Koirena says, I'm sorry to hear that. Is there an alternative to Patreon to post NSFW art in general? Because I heard rumours that they are phasing 18 plus art content in general as well. Okay, still, I'm scripting, I'm basically almost finished, but I am scripting the video and doing research for the Spice Seller guide video. That's going to be like the next proper thing on here. So I do that in between making the comics. I did go into some things, like in short, in my previous general video on how I make comics. It's called the Indie Comic Creator Guide. Yeah, I'll link it in the description if you're curious, but there's one section in there at the end that's called something like making smut or whatever. It's timestamped, and in there you can get some more information about which places are roughly okay and which places are not. Again, please keep in mind that I haven't had time to do the proper research and like really look into all of the newest terms of services and stuff. So if you are considering other places to post smutty stuff, always go and read their terms of service on it. But like this thing with Patreon hasn't like ruined my painted Tibble art. It has basically messed up my regular comic book work, because I don't just do Tibbly bits, artistically drawn bottoms. I actually make a lot of other stuff, and that's what I was putting onto Patreon. So this particular video was about my regular standard comic book making model as a self-published creator. So I have no publisher, and Patreon was essentially acting like my page rate. That's kind of the bit that's a bit fucked up now. Ko-fi and BuyMeACoffee. I'm currently using the former and it's been serving me well so far. I would think again about using Ko-fi for anything spice related at all. This is the newest terms of service that I have seen from them, and as you can see, they do not want you there as anything remotely, long related. They don't want you there. BuyMeACoffee they just seem less bothered in general. Same with LiberaPay. But again, you need to look at their terms of service. I don't want to give you bad advice. I will be talking about this in the Spice Seller Guide, and at that point I will have refreshed my memory on their terms of service and how they deal with stuff. So at that point I'll be able to, with a little bit more confidence, say my thoughts on that. But right now, Ko-fi, no. If you want to do anything with nudity in it, doesn't even have to be like sexual, just anything with nudity in it, and I'm talking drawn nudity, so it's not even real. Nope. That's crazy. I can't believe it. I mean, who has beans for breakfast? Don't you fucking come for my beans? Lynn says YouTube has the join button and some peeps use BuyMeACoffee. I wonder if that is better. Yes, these are options for a stable monthly tip. And I do have both if people want to support me. But my problem here is that, again, I won't go into it again because I just did, but I'm charging per creation. So if I didn't create anything, nobody would get charged. Or if I was really productive one month, then I would earn more money. So yeah, the patrons can just put a cap on how much they want to spend. And then once they have spent their cap, they still get access to everything that I post after that. Because the people who have no cap are still like supporting me. So that's why whenever you make a page on Patreon, every page I would post would become less valuable because people's caps would hit in. I hope that makes sense. Grim says the Patreon website is still offering per page for upgrades, Jenny. So looks like they haven't done anything just yet. That's very good to hear, thank God. Yeah, my latest payout, which arrived 2 days ago, as I'm filming this, yeah, that had also still been charged per page. Other people have also told me that it still looks like it says per page for them. It doesn't say per page for me anymore, so I don't know if they have just preemptively changed it for the creators to make them go, hey, remember. But I think this probably means that I do have to manually click a button somewhere before November next year, if I have read this correctly. And that's going to be when it swaps over. But after November of next year, if I got that right in the email, that's when they will forcibly swap it. So I hope this is what it means and they won't just swap it before then. I don't know. And I'm not really waiting to find out. I'm trying to find alternate solutions right now. So I'm not getting bamboozled by this any more than I already am. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to say your name properly. Pourquoi Ibon? While this change is truly dystopian and awful, you should still be able to sell individual pieces of content or bundles of content, sorry. It's a new feature they've added, so when I add a video, I can now let non-subscribers buy it. You have to set a minimum price of $5, but I don't think there are any other limitations. Again, not defending Patreon in any way, just saying you might be able to find a workaround that's not too dissimilar to what you were used to. I mainly also picked this comment. First of all, thank you. But I picked this comment to read out because I think that if there's anyone else who is kind of in a similar position to me and they didn't know that that was a feature, that's actually a really good, at the very least, short-term solution to all of this. It does require the person who is supporting you to manually click and buy the stuff rather than having just be an automatic thing that they have set up and then they can just go about their business and have things arrive. So it is just more hassle. So it's not ideal, but it is possible. And what I might look into, if I'm going to spare any more work on the Patreon side, depending on how things shake out over here, I might look into adding my digital PDFs or pages or something as little bundles that people can buy on my Patreon. However, as I'm saying that, I don't why should I do that? Why should I put in that extra effort to set all of that up? And I'm going to assume that they take a cut. I don't know. I haven't looked into this. So why don't I just instead put all that, the energy, I only have so much time and energy in the day. Why don't I use that energy and put it into my own website instead? This is how I'm thinking now. Patreon isn't going to get more of my special energy. I don't know if that sounds fucking gross or not. But yeah, I'm going to be putting it over on my website. So I'm going to be working to make it so that it's super easy or as easy as possible for people to be flexible on my website so that you can buy things per page if you want to. So yeah, so I think that that's a really good option for people who are on Patreon and want to find out more, find different solutions and stuff on Patreon. Again, depending how things work out for me, you might see me doing the same in a bit. I don't know yet. Beans. Thank you, Shizamura. Thank you. Okay. Danny changes. Time to just link to your Gumroad, I guess. I'm sorry you have to deal with that, though. That's very ridiculous. Thank you. Well, I am going to be, again, refreshing my memory about the terms of service stuff for yet another platform, this platform being Gumroad, when I make that Spy Seller guide. I've heard some things about Gumroad not being particularly friendly towards people who happen to draw the ding-dongs and bibbly-baps. Also, I don't think they do sort of the seamless per-creation system like Patreon did. So, they would just be another platform that I would need to put my stuff onto and then promote. So Alecto says, I heard Gumroad doesn't deal with anything even remotely NSFW since last year / earlier this year, so it's not viable for anything spicy. I kind of believe that, but again, I will look it up. Orlex says, as someone who hasn't used the platform in any way, why did you like Patreon previously? Just ease for payment and showcase, or did it also serve as a search funnel? Okay, I'm gonna try not to yap on for ages, but when I signed up to Patreon a very long time ago, it was very, very simple to what it has become. The thing that made Patreon so good in the early days was the ease of for a supporter to pay a creator like per month or per creation. They were also quite chill about NSFW stuff there in the early days ish. For that reason, they were very, very good. But I also had my account set as 18 plus ever since I started it. So I was never visible on any of their search results or anything like that. So all of the traffic that my patron has gotten has always come from me recommending it. It's never come from Patreon themselves. But yeah, the main thing that made it so good in the early days was the per creation model that I've yapped on about for ages. A lot of my patrons don't even regularly check Patreon. They might pop in once in a while just to see what I've been up to over the last 3 months or whatever. But most of them actually just use it as a way to regularly support me. And yeah, they just trust that the payments that they've set up are handled automatically, and if I don't create anything, they don't get charged for anything. That, in a nutshell, was Patreon's strength for me. Jesper, I assume that you're Scandinavian, that's why I just went into Swedish mode. Jesper says, I checked your Patreon. I'm not a patron and I can choose per page. Good, I'm glad that is still a thing. Thank God that is still a thing. That gives me more time. I do not see a month fee. Whew. Again, the fact that more people have said that is it's actually making me feel a lot better. Thank you. This Apple tax is so dumb, both from Apple and Patreon. Would OF be more welcome? OF, as people might know, is... Can I say it? OnlyFans? I don't know if that's a banned word that I can't say. YouTube. But yeah, would they be more welcome? I've already written down lots of stuff, and I am researching stuff again for the video about spy selling that I'm making, and I am going to be mentioning OF and the other ones that you can that are like OF. But again, in short, smut is only a small part of what I do. Editing Gen will pop all the other comics in here. I make that kind, wow, this kind as well, and none of that is smut. But yeah, OF is not really the place for that, in my opinion. I know because I've been there, and I don't want to take again all of my stuff from one platform and take it to the next platform and then wait for that platform to burn. So yeah. The same goes for Pepper Potatoes question as well. Are you open to moving to maybe Subscribestar at all? I'm so sorry you're having to deal with this on Patreon. Thank you. Yeah, so again, it's exactly the same. I know of Subscribestar, but that is just the smut, and this is not to do with the smut. This is to do with all of my other stuff.
Bahonkahonks.
I saved this one for last. We're just going to read the whole comment first in one go, and then I will respond to each point separately. Let's go. Demus or Demaus? I'm sorry, I'm not sure. No offense, but when they started banning people all willy-nilly back in 2017, why didn't you get out then and find a different way? I've commissioned several pieces of art, such as my avatar. I never met the artist, nor have I ever paid them through a Patreon or Venmo or PayPal or any such nonsense. I've worked out a method to do it through Ko-fi. Point is, when they showed it back then, they can't be trusted. Why did you stick around? Right. Let's do it one step at a time. When they started banning people all willy-nilly back in 2017, why didn't you get out then and find a different way? Okay. Why, this is fucking cringy, but how about we listen to a Bobby Jen from 2018 for a second? Oh, Jesus Christ. My face is probably going to be like this a lot of the time because I need to remember all of the stuff. And all of it is also written in caps lock because I'm slightly excited. So yeah, if you have been following me this past week, you've probably seen that I've been talking a lot about something called drip, and how it could be the start of something quite big for me. You also probably know that I have been on Patreon for a long time, over 4 years now, and it was a complete game changer. It basically meant that I could do comics full time, and I can sit at home like this and talk bollocks. It's amazing. So
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, Patreon has been a complete life changer for me. But over those 4 years, I noticed that they have also been doing some dodgy things. I won't go into all of it here because we would be sitting here for a while then. But basically, they are a little bit floaty when it comes to not safe for work content. So essentially smut, which I like to draw, and both friends and strangers alike have been affected by this. They have had their accounts suspended, or their money frozen, or sometimes I think they've even had their accounts completely wiped, things like that. Yeah, it's just been, you kind of constantly feeling like you're on edge with that kind of thing because you're not entirely sure what the rules are. And I know, Ruffles, it's bad. Anyway. And
R.I.P. Ruffles.
Of course he starts talking now. I'm sorry. Last month it happened to me. I had my money frozen for a few days, and it almost made me miss my bill payments. It was an incredibly stressful experience, and quite the eye-opener as well. So I basically just felt like the rug had just been pulled out from under me, and I was like, fuck. So I've been keeping my eyes peeled when it comes to drip for a long while, because it's invite only, so it's not something that you can just join. You have to be invited right now. It will open up in the future. But anyway, what's drip? What's drip?
Look, she's so
It's
excited.
this version of Patreon, essentially. So people pledge for an ongoing period of time to pledge support for artists. Ruffles, do you want to come in here and have a chat as well? Is that what's happening right now? He's playing with his disco ball.
I don't know,
if
you should
the
have
mic is
brought him
picking
in
that up.
for some levity.
So yeah. Anyway, so how is drip different from Patreon? Well, first of all, drip allow. Oh my god! Drip allows smut. So yeah, that shut you up, didn't it? I can sit down and I can draw all my stuff, and it's fine. I don't have to keep on looking over my shoulder to be like, oh my god. They allow it. It's fine.
Don't know if I have to censor how I say that.
They are also part of Kickstarter, so everyone who has a Kickstarter account automatically has a drip supporter account. So there's no extra admin there.
Sounds great.
And they talk to me face to face. So I could actually ask them questions about stuff properly, which, is more than I can say for another company that froze my money and then went on holiday.
I'll just pause it very quickly there to say that, yes, this was back in 2018, and I was actually able to, during a convention season here in the UK, I was actually able to speak to Kickstarter staff in person and talk to them about this.
Yeah, we're not salty about that. And I think most importantly, it's actually a place where I could work on my granny's comic book memoir. I will.
Okay, so this is where I basically just start rambling, well, continue rambling for the next 10 minutes about the memoir and stuff like that. Which, by the way, has been successfully funded on Kickstarter now, and I am currently in the research phase. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting me with that. Thank you. So back at the end of 2017 and around that time, as Babby Jen said back in this video, I was very much aware of what was happening. I had acquaintances who were directly affected by what was going on, and I had my money frozen as well, and I did not have a good time with that. Anyway, that made me go, fuck. At this point, I'm only, what did I say, 4 years or something into actually making a living in comics. So I'm just still not quite understanding what the fuck, how am I able to do this? I mean, I still don't, but now I'm a little bit less
that with some experience. But I was basically just like amazed that Patreon was working for me. And when I started seeing a lot of the stuff that was happening with them as the time went on and they became more popular and all the stuff that came with that, I started being like, okay, I need to find some other place where I can continue making my comics like this, and that's going to be easy for people to switch to. And back then, I was basically like, okay, one of those places was Kickstarter, which is, you know, a very big company, and they are also completely cool with a little bit of a drawn bob. So, yeah, I was very lucky that I was one of the people who was invited to be like a drip, not a drip founder. That's the Patreon thing. I was one of the creators who they had kind of onboarded first to as they were building the platform. So, you know, I was very excited that now that I knew that something wasn't quite right with Patreon, and I had experienced some of my first biggest sort of wobbles in terms of like, fuck, if this goes wrong, I am kind of in trouble. I saw a platform that might be able to be a good alternative that would be easy for people to join me at. So, that didn't happen. Drip got bought out by another company called XOXO, which I hope I'm saying right, and is now in the process of building their new platform. When that's done, they'll be moving all the existing creators from Drip onto that new platform. I hope that makes sense. I wrote a blog post about this, and you know, when I first got the news, and it has articles and things that I've linked to. So if you are curious about that, again, I will link it below. Now, there are immediately 4 problems with Drip being bought by another company. Problem number 1. The reason I jumped on Drip was because it was helmed by Kickstarter, who I trust, and mainly because they've been very good to creators, like indie creators like myself. I've met them face to face, and, you know, they're good people. 2. Kickstarter is very clear about their position on smut comics, which is cool. Go on. 3. Kickstarter would share the platform with Drip, so that would make the creators on Drip very visible to everyone on Kickstarter. And if you had, you know, an account on Kickstarter, it's very easy for you to then just support someone on Drip. There's no fuss. You just go and support them. Boom, done. See, that was one of the reasons why I was so excited about Drip as an alternative to Patreon, because if you have to think about this in how like people support you, like in your supporters' views. So yeah, it's very easy to say, oh, I'll just go and make a Ko-fi. I'll go just go make a buy me a coffee button. But like the people who support you on one platform, all of them will probably, I'm almost 100% certain, will not all decide to switch to the new platform because it's hassle. So when you find a place where it's already like a built-in thing, like not everyone, but many people use Kickstarter, especially in indie comics. That Kickstarter is like almost like a lifeline for tons of indie creators. So a lot of people already know what Kickstarter is. They have accounts. They already have all of that sorted out. It's so easy just to click and support. It's very easy to click and back a project on there. Maybe a little bit too easy. But yeah, so this is why when I was like, oh my God, this is another platform that's already got that built-in audience, and you would be able to have visibility as someone who makes slightly smutty things with paint, just a little bit of a tit. You would be able to actually be visible, whereas on Patreon, I am not visible because I am NSFW like tick. Kickstarter basically said that you will be visible and it will be a lot easier for people to just go and support you there. You can just scoot on over. So I was like, great. For the final problem, which was the nail in the coffin
for me. The moment XOXO took over and were asked about the future of not safe for work content, they were uncertain. Now, I believe that this new company has their, heart in the right place, and they want to support creators who do smarty art or, not safe for work art or whatever. But at the end of the day, I need them to be clear, and Kickstarter was clear on that. Oh, and my account is still in review, by the way. My drip account, that is. So, I don't know. I mean, it's most likely in review because they're building a new platform and, they're busy with that. But a small nagging part in the back of my mind is thinking that the reason they've not been so keen on approving me is because I explicitly stated in my drip video and everything else and all the information that I would be using drip to make erotic comics.
Oops.
And a comic about Grant's life, which includes World War II and Nazis.
Oh, yeah.
So, perhaps not the safest subject matter.
No.
Anyway, so what happens now? I am still making genitals, and I am still busy researching.
Right, so I will put all of us out of the misery of seeing the old Bobby Jen from 5 years ago. Oh God, that's As you hopefully can tell, I have been looking for ways out, and I have been, at the same time as I am still trying to just, do my job and stay afloat. Since before 2017, honestly, it's just like I've been trying to slowly filter myself out onto different platforms and see which ones actually give back enough for me to give more. Because I have to think in the way that all of my time needs to go into a platform and the platform needs to give me money in return. If not, then the time that I have put in there is wasted. So I have to be ready to jump, but I also have to be picky. It's a fun time times. So after then Drip, that I saw as one of my ways out of Patreon, after they just, I basically went, well, shit, I need to make my own thing. I need to make my own Patreon alternative on my website on Wix. So this was three years ago? There's a video on why I quit Wix after using them for 3 years that you can watch if you want to know why I'm no longer there. It's fun. Point is that basically I just went, fuck, I can't find any other alternatives, so I'll just have to try to make it myself. I'm a traditional comic book artist. I'm not a web designer or a coder or a nerd. In a way, if you're going to look at it from the bright side, I feel like the 3 years on Wix acted as kind of like a warm-up for me to start to figure out how to go at it on my own. And then when that went to shit, I basically have now gone to the point where I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna have to make it myself, aren't I? So now I have my own hosted, I buy hosting, and I have made my own fucking website in HTML, and another part of it is on WordPress that is I have it on my fucking desktop computer, okay? This is what you've done to me, internet. I've had to start doing basic ass HTML and CSS coding. Okay? I just want to draw tits, man. Why are you doing this to me? You've made me into a coder now. All because I wanted to be a self-published comic book artist on the internet. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I hope that people don't assume that I, or people like me, are not trying behind the scenes to find a different way. Just because we're not showing that straight up, that we're not behind the scenes trying to, paddle our way through and find a way to not fucking drown. Right now, today, as I'm filming this, a lovely cold Sunday here in the UK, I have been spending this morning updating my website, coding away with my tiny little hand, and I've been updating my membership on my website. I am also setting up a phone call shortly, hopefully this week, with yet another alternative payment gateway, so that I will give me yet another way to hopefully take payment
for my memberships in the future. So that's, I'm just, again, trying to find as many different alternatives as possible to make it as easy as possible for people to support me if they want to. Anyway, we're continuing. I've commissioned several pieces of art, such as my avatar. I've never met the artists, nor have I ever paid them through a Patreon or Venmo or PayPal or any such nonsense. I worked out a method to do it through Ko-fi. I think we've gone through this video and talked about Ko-fi quite a lot, so I won't rehash that again. Yeah, I'm very glad that you are supporting artists and commissioning them. That's very good. Please keep doing that. Genuinely. I am a comic artist, though. I'm mainly a comic book artist. I don't do single illustration commissions. I work by a page rate system. So Patreon, again, was a very good thing with this, where they had the per creation system. It was very good for my way of working. But yeah, in terms of commissions, when I've needed like extra money because of like unforeseen medical bills or something like that, I have opened my commissions in the past. And I do really, really appreciate people who actually commission me to do single illustration art. But my main work is comics because I hate myself. Point is, when they showed back then that they can't be trusted, why did you stick around? So I think I explained hopefully I explained quite well why I can't just like drop something and why I was trying to find something else. Through the years, I have been filtering out to other platforms to earn a living that way. It's like, if you are interested, or anyone else interested in how I make a living as an indie creator, I have made a whole video on it where you can see in the money section, I actually go into a bit more detail of like what kind of platforms actually earn me money right now. So, I have got several different ways that I earn money. It just so happens that the big chonker in there is a Patreon. But I think in general, kind of as indie creators, I kind of feel like we're kind of fucked if we do and fucked if we don't, to be honest. Like, when Twitter kind of went to pot, a lot of creators just happened to be the most popular on there. Like, it happened organically. It wasn't like a grand plan of theirs or like a big strategy. It just kind of became a thing for them. And I saw a lot of artists and like non-artists having a go at creators who had to stay on there, even though Twitter clearly can't be trusted. Because if you are making money as an artist, it's very difficult in the first place and very fleeting. So like when you do have a place that actually earns you money, like you can't just suddenly drop it, no matter how much that platform makes you uncomfortable, because you literally can't afford to. I've been uncomfortable with Patreon for years, and I have expressed it, not just in that old drip video, and I have been slowly working on getting more support in other places, which is going okay, but it's a process. But Patreon has been the one that has been the easiest for people to sign up to. It's a very interesting time now. Maybe there will be a future video, if I'm still on YouTube, of me reacting to this version of me. Bobby Jen, she didn't know what was coming. And maybe it's going to be a positive thing, an optimistic thing. I hope so. But yeah, honestly, what this has done it has made me very, very motivated to get my own thing set up. And I need to make sure that place looks real good and is easy to navigate, and just in general a very pleasant experience. Right now I'm still working on it, but like if you do want to have a look at it, I have the exact same tiers as I do on Patreon over there. And in the future, once upon a time, the actual membership program that I use, they have things like goals that you can add in, and they have, if I've understood it correctly, a thing where literally it will send emails to the members. So if you are like let's say a nesting member, then you're literally, just like with Patreon, you'll get an email whenever I upload something, so that you don't have to come and manually check the website, because I just don't think people do that anymore. Like, I love websites, but like I don't do that. I need reminders. That is a thing that I can also add on to these membership things, and I can also add on to a thing that makes it look very, very similar, almost identical actually, to how Patreon lays out their memberships. So it
The only problem with that is that the things I've just described costs money for me. Right now, I am on a membership plan that is free. So I'm on the basic plan, but in the future, I'd like to like upgrade that if I can to the more sort of feature-heavy plan. But I know that that exists, and I can tailor my studio in any way I want. Anyway, I'd better go back to drawing Scarl. And if anyone else wants to read my stuff, you can. And thank you again so much for 2,000 subs. That's lovely. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Bye. Bahonkahonks.